is my sheep.
You work in there?
Okay, thank you very much. Don't forget, you'll see on the On the YouTube.
Buddy Boy's tripping on my Mom, Buddy Boy's trying to get a picture again. A little bit farther. Mom, Buddy Boy's trying to get a picture.
Yeah. 360-degree view around the city.
Can we take pictures?
You may indeed, yes.
All right.
We won't be able to get out of the bus, unfortunately, but I will stop up there for a period of time there to let everybody take some good pictures. But because of the location and that, we're not allowed out of the buses up there. But we'll get some pictures taken up there, and then we're going to head down through some fancy city. Who was incorporated as a city in 1862. So just a mere 19 years later, we became a city. During this time, we had about 400 residents in our city, or in the fort, until the 1850s, when the gold rush came about. They had found gold up on the Fraser River just outside of Vancouver, British Columbia, and our population blossomed from about 400 people all the way up to over 15,000 in the matter of months. All these people had to come into Fort Victoria here and buy a license from the Hudson's Bay Company. While they were here, wouldn't hesitate to sell them all the necessary provisions that they needed to go up and mine gold up on the Fraser River. This is how the Hudson's Bay Company became the major department store chain that they are today. Now, off to the right-hand side of the bus, if you look over, well, we can't really see them right now through the trees, but I'm sure a couple people looked over across the Juan de Fuca Strait. And, well, if anybody saw a line out there, well, you're one up on me because I still haven't seen this line. Apparently, it's an imaginary line, but I've got a few imaginary friends I see all the time. I don't know why I can't see this line. But there's an imaginary line out there that is the border between Canada and the United States. On the other side of that line, there is Washington State over there and the Olympic Peninsula. And there's those mountains over there. Those are the Olympic Mountains on the Olympic Peninsula in Washington State. Those beautiful snow-capped peaks over there, we love them over here in Victoria. Sometimes we can't see them though. It's been hit and miss lately, but we used to see them all the time, but ever since Washington State changed their marijuana smoking laws, they're a little bit cloudy over there, so yeah, I'm not sure. But we love those mountains over here in Victoria, not just because they're pretty to look at or anything like that, but they do give us our great weather over here. We are actually in their rain shadows. We get significantly less rainfall than anywhere else in the Pacific Northwest. Just around the corner here, on the left, this is our mile zero marker. This is mile zero of our Trans-Canada Highway, or our highway number 1. Canada's highway number 1 starts here in Victoria, British Columbia, and on the Pacific Ocean goes all the way across our country and ends up in the country. On the right-hand side of the bus here, this is our Beacon Hill Park. Beacon Hill Park was a donation from the Hudson's Bay Company back in 1850s to the citizens of Victoria. Now, they threw a couple of conditions on there when they gave it to us. One of them was that we could never fence the property. It had to be accessible for everybody to enjoy at all times, day or night. So there's no fence around here. Also, we couldn't charge admission to the park, so it had to be free for everybody to enjoy. And the third thing was, get this, no commercial enterprise anywhere in the park. So even today, you cannot buy an ice cream cone or even a bottle of water inside our park. It is a beautiful park. They have lots of manicured areas, such as these rose gardens here. There's another rose garden in there, a really big one. And there's also lots of other garden beds in there. We have the world's largest watering can here on the right-hand side of the bus. Now, that's not used for watering any of the flowers or anything. We use that for watering the kids, actually. That is a children's spray park. Great fun for cooling down on a hot summer afternoon. The kids go in there. They can push buttons on the wall there and run around, get wet. It's also good for the adults, too, if they want to head in there. They also have a children's petting zoo inside the park. All the kids can get right in the pen with the baby goats and play with them. There's also chickens and bunnies and miniature horses and llamas, all sorts of the usual farm animals in there the kids can play with. There's also about 30 resident peacocks that live around the petting zoo there, and they're always good entertainment for guests coming through the park. Put up their feathers. The males are always showing off for the females. On the right-hand side of the bus here, this is called Good Acre Lake. It is the largest lake in the park. That nice little fountain in there, and the cobblestone bridge over on the other side there. Lots of ducks and geese in the... No relation to the TV show, and we were a little geographically disoriented when they named that school, but that is South Park School. It's the longest actively running schoolhouse in Canada. It dates back to 1895. I know it's been there for quite some time because both of my parents actually went there back in the 1940s. So it's been there for quite some time in relationship to me there. I was born here in Victoria, native Victorian, lived here my whole life. This is a great job getting to show everybody around my beautiful city. I do believe that this is probably the best, most beautiful city in the world. I've been to quite a few of them, and this one here is by far the best. On the right-hand side, St. Anne's Academy. The Sisters of St. Anne, they showed up here in the 1850s from Quebec. And they came out here and they started up orphanages and some hospitals around here, and also grew lots of plants and vegetables that fed a lot of the homeless people that were living around the city at the time. On the left-hand side here, this is the Church of Our Lord. This church dates back to 1860. It sits on land donated by Sir James Douglas. He owned the Fairfield farm that was out in this district. This is actually the back of the church, the original back of the church. The front of the church was at the other end, and our Victoria's inner harbor of the church there. Our Victoria's inner harbor, which we'll see a little bit later on, was just a swampy marsh area. Right, look at that later on. She's the grand old lady of the city. You're just going to be amazed when you see this old girl.
Are the swans here owned by the queen? Are they not owned by? Are they considered the queens too?
The swans?
Yes. Like in England, they're like all the swans are hers. Like.
No, I've never heard of that.
Oh, okay.
No, never heard of that. I'll have to look that one up. On the right-hand side of the bus here, you look right up the end of the block there. You can't miss it. Biggest building up there. Takes up a whole city block.
Wow.
That is Christ Church Cathedral.
Beautiful.
That is an Anglican Church of Canada. That is where the Queen and the royal family will go and have their church services when they visit our city.
Oh, cool.
It's just as impressive on the inside as it is on the outside. I was actually christened in that church back in, I'm not going to say that, but way back when. Yeah, well over 50 years ago now, but it's a beautiful church. I often go up there and just go in for a visit just to check it out. And the architecture in there, all the stained glass work is just amazing. There's another church up front of us there on the left-hand side. We won't be able to get by it, but I'll tell you a little bit about it. That's St. Andrew's Catholic Cathedral. You'll notice it's only got one spire. If you look over at it when we turn right here, you'll be able to see where the second spire was supposed to be. But the St. Andrew's Catholic Cathedral was started in construction at the same time as St. Andrew's Presbyterian Church. But these Presbyterians, they got one up on the Catholics by, well, they went to the Baker Brick and Tile Company and they purchased all the bricks that they had in inventory. So the Roman Catholics had to wait a couple of years before they could complete their church. It was completed in 1890, but we think in the delay of the construction, some of the funds went missing, and that's why they could not afford the other spire that went up on top of it. There is a place for the other spire, but it just never showed up. We are traveling on Fort Street right now, and Fort Street, well, it's named after Fort Victoria. This road was the original entrance and exit to the fort, which was about location, but this was the original road in and out of the fort. It used to be two ways, now it's only one way out of town. This is also our antique row. We have about 4 blocks here where there's an accumulation of antique shops here. Being an old city here, everybody brought all their possessions with them or has purchased over their lifetime all their possessions. And usually after downsizing in that, people get older and move to smaller houses, and usually the family doesn't want mom and dad's dining room table or a buffet and hutch or anything like that, so people would bring them down here too. Just up here on the right hand side of the bus, there's this large mosaic building here. On the mosaic building on the outside, there's a beautiful mosaic. Imagine that. Yeah. We've got the Thunderbird up there. Sir James Douglas is directing traffic on the building of the fort, the corner bastion. There's also the SS Beaver up there. Those mosaics have over 3.5 million tiles in them, and they took a year and a half to complete. 3 Mexican artisans worked on those tirelessly, and took a year and a half to complete. 67. And that basically states that if you own one of these older historically significant buildings in and around Victoria, well, you can't tear it down anymore. You must maintain the building, and you can take advantage of some grants, restoration grants from the Victoria Heritage Foundation. Now this works both for commercial and residential buildings, and if you take advantage of these grants and renovate your building, you can do whatever you want to the inside of it. You can turn it into a boutique hotel or a bed and breakfast, a lawyer's office, a doctor's office. We saw some of those back down there. Perhaps a veterinary hospital like the one on the left here. Lots of things you can do with the inside of the building. It is your building. Do what you want with the inside, but the outside has to remain as original as possible. For this, by putting it back to the original condition, you'll get a nice heritage plaque for your building. As well, the city will actually defer your property taxes for a period of up to 10 years. So that's pretty good for all involved there. And Victoria gets to keep a lot of its older heritage buildings. Wait till we get downtown and you see some of the ones that are down there dating back to the 1880s, all these old commercial buildings. So we are at Craigdarroch Castle. Trust me, we are, almost.
Here, and 3 of their unmarried daughters, and then 2 grandchildren stayed here as well. Ooh. Joan Dunsmuir, that was his wife's name, she stayed here until 1908, so for about 18 years. And then she passed away, and in 1908, and then in 1909, the daughters decided to sell everything off of the castle. So they auctioned it all off and sold all the belongings in it. And he had the castle during the 19-teens, but unfortunately he went bankrupt, so he didn't do so well at his businesses, and then the Bank of Montreal ended up taking over the castle, and then after World War I, this was a military hospital. Some of the rules that we have are just not to touch anything in the castle, not even the walls. The railings are allowed though, and you can sit in any of the chairs without ropes on them. If you do have questions, feel free to ask the staff, of course. If you have any food or drink with you, we ask for you to tuck that away in your bag, and if you have a backpack with you, it needs to be worn on the front of your body and not on your back. All Victorian period home furnishings, and then home provided in each of the rooms are actually the library. Wow, we know it's not just which we suspect that there is a company in Chicago where all this wood was manufactured that they possibly ordered things that are easier to track down than chairs. And for the library, we have 2 paintings as well as 3,000 books that Joe owned. Yeah. This is what, so this wood is white oak, and it comes from Arkansas, where it was milled and manufactured later in Chicago. So it went from Arkansas to Chicago, where it's milled and manufactured, and then brought up here by rail cars. Yeah. Where's the which? The gift shop is going to be at the end of the tour. Did you want to go there now, though?
Yes.
Yeah. So if you want to sneak to the gift shop. You'll see those on the other side of the castle. You'll see one of them, and there was about 3 live-in servants, and then they had about 6 in total couple that were like ladies' maids, but some were just day staff. And then there was a bunch more that just worked on the grounds as well. They had groundskeepers and stables and that kind of thing. And there were some people that also worked servants in the basement with the boiler. But I haven't seen anything. However, it's quite spooky, especially in the evenings when it's windy, because there's 17 fireplaces, so the wind blows through them and it makes kind of like howling sounds, and then the house expands and contracts like most houses do. So it just adds to all that eeriness, if you will. So yeah.
When I was at college, did the students stay in?
It wasn't an overnight college, it was
Okay.
just a day school, so
Okay.
they would, just take their classes here. It was called Victoria College, and it was affiliated with McGill University.
Okay.
And then,
For the times, the ceilings were very high, but yes.
like reaching out to capacity and then all the students were like protested and walked all the way down to Governor's House, and right, with the holding placards and then in another building. So later they went to where Camosun College is now, in Vancouver Island, and then after that,
That's what I was just thinking. I mean, nobody could ever think about sneaking home in my 1906 house.
no, there is a dumbwaiter. There's no elevator, but there's a dumbwaiter. You can sit on the other side of the castle, there's a dumbwaiter, and one
Huge set of mirrors. I mean, I have one, but it's like half that size.
Space. Yes, that's what we, that's what
For
she
the
was
times.
saying.
I mean, back in those times, they had very small rooms.
Away.
Yes. It's like you're in a little nice city.
Your own little apartments.
Yes. Yes.
You could get the gas, so they don't have to do that. Right.
when they were very young, and so I'm sure it changed a bit of their organs and stuff like that. I wouldn't doubt it. But yeah, since they were children, they wore those, and dresses were heavy. It's heavy materials that they'd be wearing, lots of undergarments underneath, and usually the top layer of the gown wasn't really washed much because you had so many undergarments underneath that would be the only thing that needed to be washed, that you would actually sweat through. That was part of the purpose. But dresses were heavy materials, and they would weigh like 10 pounds, and they also had these tiny shoes. They'd wear corsets, so being a woman was very difficult, just even to get around. Yeah, it only added to more of the image of them seeming fragile, but it was really, like, when you really think about it, it was just because you're extremely uncomfortable.
Right now it's recording. You will see that on YouTube. I give your name, and after 2 weeks, I'll put it on YouTube. Okay. Will be a movie about. look at me.
If you're paying cash, it will be an American cash. It will be 63. Yeah, 63.10. I'm gonna round up a little bit. Okay. Yeah. 63.
Okay.
Thank you. Probably should. We should do my real stuff.
You're doing your real job.
Times 2, 335. Part of it. Could I just see a piece of ID? All right, thank you.
I get off at 10 o'clock and 9:30 and I'll be there by 11. We open it. It's about 3 miles from
I heard you was born here and grew up here.
Yes.
In the same city. And you are living all your life here, yeah?
Yep, all my life.
Okay. How is the life in here?
Fantastic. It's the greatest place on earth.
I see the very clean air
Yep.
and very, very clean city, I understand.
Yep, very clean city. The city workers around here work very hard to keep this place looking good for all our guests that visit here.
How many people are living here?
About 375,000 people in the Greater Victoria area.
Wow, it's a huge one.
Yes.
It's a big one. Okay, thank you very much and God bless you.
Thank you. Beautiful bed and breakfast here, but this one time was a single family home up in this area. Lots of these older homes up in this area. This is our Rockland area off to the right hand side. This is one of the first areas where the wealthy Victorians would move out to, and they started building their larger mansions out in this area, and then they extended out in towards our Oak Bay district. Esso Imperial Oil, $1.21.9. Is that a good deal for fuel or what? The metric system. Now that $1.21.9 per liter is actually about $4.80 per gallon, because there's 3.78 liters in a US gallon, and that is in Canadian money. So I had a question posed to me about the price of diesel. Well, price of diesel is sitting at about $1. Bought car up here, the speedometer is probably in miles per hour. You have to be aware that if you're doing 80 miles per hour when the sign says 80 kilometers an hour, well, you're exceeding the speed limit by a little bit. That's actually 130 kilometers per hour. So the Vancouver Island here, we call it our Capital Regional District. But each one of these little municipalities or cities has one mayor, one council, one fire chief, and one police chief. Lots of little governments around here, not one big government like probably the city you're coming from, where you have several million people. In the city of Victoria, we have about 80,000 people, and in the Greater Victoria area, or our Capital Regional District, we have 375,000 people. Not to Rhodes University, I mentioned earlier, as well as our Camosun College, which we just passed by a few seconds ago, and our University of Victoria. Altogether, these three universities host about 40 to 50,000 students a year, and a lot of those, probably about 25. See, they're just gonna sit there and look pretty for you.
Nice.
Oh, she's gonna run over and see Dad now.
Oh, baby.
In the Greater Victoria area, we have in our 4 core municipalities of Oak Bay, Esquimalt, Saanich, and Victoria, we have over 2,000 urban deer in the area. And we'll probably see quite a few more along our trip today, this evening tour.
Very nice.
that over there is even prettier.
Hello sir, how are you?
Thank you. How are you? It's a nice trip,
Thank you.
but there's no light, not enough light.
Okay.
We got lots of seats in here on Billboard on Board.